Is there a united front of the different workers?
There's a united front, not just of the Hollywood labor unions, but of the non-union workers as well, and of the unions all across America. As you can see here, we're standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity today.
The Apple workers, are they going to support this?
Oh yeah, so the Apple Retail Union's part of CWA. I'm sure they'll support it. I'm with the Alphabet Workers Union. We absolutely support this.
And Apple's spending a lot of money apparently fighting the union. They don't want union for the...
Yep, lots of money.
Yeah. And that's big tech, and that's Wall Street's entire deal. They would love to have a company with 0 employees because that is 0 overhead. It's pure profit. So that is their ultimate end goal, is to minimize the necessary requirements for human workers and to make sure that any work is done by automated systems that would keep the profits in their pockets and out of our hands.
They want to make you gig workers?
You know, when we talk about gig workers, we're not talking about it as a derogatory term, we're talking about it as a cautionary tale, because gig work used to be profitable, it used to be flexible, and it used to be the sort of job that was heaven sent to workers working minimum wage. And what happened was those workers saw their hours going up, their pay going down, until they found themselves in a predatory system they could not escape. That's been happening to all of us all over the country. It's something that we are saying we will not tolerate this any longer.
And the Apple workers, you say that as an engineer that you should have something to say about the use of this technology?
I mean, would you want something you worked on to harm somebody else? Come on, of course we should.
And what does the company say to that proposal?
Not much, they ignore us. All these big tech companies, all the same things, right? They want to just make a lot more money, you know, use AI to replace workers, exploit workers further. So yeah, I mean, it's the same whether it's Apple, Microsoft, Google, and yeah, we are a campaign trying to unionize workers at Google, at its subsidiaries, its vendor companies. We recently had a group of workers who won their bargaining rights, workers at YouTube Music through a vendor company called Cognizant. So they're going to go into negotiations now. Cognizant, hey, if you're listening, negotiate with them. And yeah, we're going to keep going from there.
Now, Goldman Sachs has said 300 million workers could lose their job around the world. It sounds like an existential crisis.
It's been an existential crisis. It hasn't just been happening now. This is just the latest blow to the workforce. For the last 10 years, our rooms in Hollywood, our television rooms, have been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. They have found new ways to suppress our pay. This is just the latest attack on workers in America. So this is just the next step. This isn't even the first time it's happened. This is just the latest example of how much the tech companies and Wall Street hate having to employ human beings in their companies.
And do you think you're going to create a wave of workers who are affected by technology, AI, that they can unite together? I mean, it seems that workers, there is no national campaign around AI. I know that legislation in Europe to kind of regulate the introduction of AI, you think there should be similar things in the United States?
Absolutely, because I think you're absolutely right. AI is supposed to be a tool. AI is supposed to help us in the workplace. It's not supposed to help our employers replace us. And so if we don't put the protections in that say if this is a tool, the rules and regulations need to be determined by the people who use them. And that is the Teamsters, that is the workers, that is the writers. We should be the only ones deciding how this tool will be used. If that is not acceptable to the companies, then we will be out here on the front lines fighting until they realize that the power needs to lie with us, not with them.
Apple, these companies are saying they're not going to release the number of streams they do of your material.
They never do. They never do.
It's proprietary?
It's par for the course. It's one of the many roadblocks that they try and throw up in order to take away our power, because that's what knowledge is. In order to have an ethical industry, you have to have transparency. And Apple, big tech companies, Apple, Amazon, all of the other studios in the AMPTP are not about transparency. We are. That's why we released our proposals and the responses from the AMPTP at the very beginning of the strike, so our members and the rest of the world could know exactly what was asked for and exactly what was said.
Some of your members have said that this is existential that if you don't win this, you could be eliminated, the industry could be eliminated. Is that true?
That is true. It is an existential crisis because our industry is on the brink of extinction. Already, if you look at what's been going on in different areas of the industry, the VFX houses that have been shutting down because they cannot afford to work for the movies that have contracted them. If you look back to 2013, the VFX house that did Life of Pi had to declare bankruptcy because they were not paid enough. That has been happening all over, where our quotes and our wages have been undercut and pressed down so that none of us are able to make an actual sustainable living. We are looked to make this our part-time work while dedicating full-time energy and hours to these projects, and it's no longer acceptable.
And Elon Musk got rid of 75% of the workers at Twitter. Twitter's still operating. It seems like this AI has the potential of eliminating a lot of tech workers.
Is Twitter still operating?
Yeah.
Have you been on Twitter lately?
I was about to say, I was like, Twitter has not been operating since Elon has taken over. There are so many functions that have broken, and instead of actually looking to Twitter to try and make it a tool that could be used by everyone, Elon has essentially made it into his own personal party. That's all it is. It's Elon's own personal clubhouse in order to invite his pals and speak his manifestos to his followers. There's nothing more to it than that. Of course Twitter's awful. That's why no one wants to use it anymore. He has an awful product that isn't worth the money that he paid for it, and he's going to lose billions on it.
And I mean, do you think workers should be running it? Because it seems like if the incentive is more profit for these owners, for the producers, this is a natural thing. Make more profit and eliminate workers. Shouldn't workers be running things?
I mean, that sounds good to me. I definitely think that, there's a right for entrepreneurs to come in and, try and have an idea, run a business, make some money on it. But workers should have a say, in their working conditions, in the pay and benefits they get, in how the things that they produce are used in the world, in what the impact of their work is on everybody else around them. Absolutely.
Well, when computers were introduced in this country, I'm from Silicon Valley, we were told that it would free people. They would have more time and it would be a good future for people.
That's what they're saying now about AI as well, that it's going to free people, that it's going to allow them the time to pursue their leisurely activities. But the fact of the matter is we're having AI come in and replace people without any sort of plan for how those people are going to now make a living, how they're going to keep a roof over their head. It's not as though we're creating a utopia. We're essentially trying to keep the 99% of America unemployed, in debt, and at the mercy of big tech and Wall Street. Because once you cannot afford to leave your job, you are trapped, and they know that. So instead of paying competitive wages that would encourage the best workers and the best work to come out of their companies, they are trying to hold workers hostage by paying them as little as possible to ensure that they cannot leave.
And are you calling for a boycott or for people to cancel their subscriptions to these services?
I think that people should do whatever they feel will contribute to the union movement right now. I would love for them to come and stand with us. I would actually say if you support us, if you support the workers of Hollywood, I would greatly encourage you to make a contribution to the Entertainment Community Fund, which is an organization that has been helping our brother and sister workers who are out of work because of this strike and making sure that they have money in order to feed their families, pay their rent. We're just asking anyone who is supporting us to pay money or to make a donation to the ECF in order to support our fellow brother and sister workers.
My name's Richard Cordner.
And you're a writer?
Yes, I'm a writer, yeah.
So what are the issues that brought you to Apple today?
Well, there's multiple issues that the WGA is striking for. The rise of mini rooms being one of them, and also the fact that like half the members of the WGA are working for guild minimums. The larger point is that corporations in the entertainment industry have never been making larger profits, billions and billions of dollars, paying their chief executives $250 million a year, and yet they're quibbling with the people who create the very content that makes them all that money. So we're sick of it, to be honest.
And the salaries of the executives are quite high that you're fighting.
$250 million last year. I think David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Discovery, was paid. So yeah, they're pretty high.
And the introduction of technology, that's one of the issues, AI, how does that concern you?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see where it goes. But I mean, one thing we do know is that corporations, wherever they can, are going to try and optimize, which generally means forcing workers into lower and lower working conditions. So it's something that we have to set guardrails in place for now, really, yeah.
And there's some reports of workers feeling they're gig workers. They're turned into gig workers with these smaller rooms. What's that all about?
That's exactly how writing feels at the moment. It feels like gig work. Like it used to be a pretty stable profession, a solid kind of middle class or upper middle class profession for people. And nowadays it does sort of feel like you're working for increasingly shorter periods of times on jobs, and then you're essentially unemployed looking for the next job. So it's the very definition of gig work.
So are a lot of writers concerned that they won't have a future if they continue to do what they're doing?
Absolutely. I think this is an existential strike. I think that we have to, what we're striking for now is the future of this as a viable career.
And Goldman Sachs has said that there may be 300 million workers who lose their jobs as a result of AI. It seems like it's a broader social economic issue.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that this is the coalface for an awful lot of jobs, not just in the creative industries, but professional white-collar jobs that AI could soon be threatening. So it's important to put the guardrails in place now and do everything that we can to ensure that people are treated fairly by the companies they work for.
Well, you have a union that's able to kind of negotiate at this point on the introduction of technology. Most workers in the country don't have unions.
Yep.
The technology is basically introduced to the wild, wild west. Europe has proposals to kind of regulate the introduction of this technology. There is the lessons of the Industrial Revolution, the Luddites, and the destruction of guilds and that kind of thing. Do you think that that's what's going to happen now?
Well, I mean, they're interesting parallels to be sure, but I think if you look at the way European businesses are run in general, there are far more regulations in place and far more worker protections in place. And the very fact that there's been such a decline of trade union membership over the last sort of 40, 50 years, it's a really sad indictment of where we've gotten to as a society, because workers only have power when they act collectively.
And how long are you prepared to stay out?
As long as it takes.
And is there solidarity in your membership?
Absolutely, 100%.
So people understand, if you say it's an existential struggle, that's a pretty radical position to take.
That's how we all feel.
My name is Bobby Issa. I'm with Teamsters Local 2785 San Francisco.
And you came down here to Apple.
Yeah.
Why did you come all the way down here?
In solidarity to support the WGAW. I mean, we're in full solidarity with all the unions coming out, helping to fight against, people who's not taking care of us. We work and don't get what we deserve, and we should get what we deserve,
Is your union being affected by AI? Artificial intelligence?
Like our representative talked about, we also have drivers, and they might make AI drivers, and I'll be crazy if they do that, and we don't want that, We need a human being behind the wheels, like those Waymo drivers that they have in San Francisco where it's driverless, like that. That's an AI thing, and we're trying to get that off the street as well.
I mean, it seems like it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That technology, they stop in the middle of the street. I've seen it. I live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have a real problem.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in a construction site when they drive up, they don't know how to react, so they stop, and so like it could be dangerous for both parties, for whoever's walking on the street, pedestrians or so on, or the construction workers as well.
Well, why is Governor Newsom and the government allowing this?
I don't know. I guess they're trying to find a way to profit out of it, and less ways to spend money on other things, So I really don't know. I think it's a money thing. If they could put more money into something that can make them more money.
My name's Monty Wright. I'm a nurse. I work at Kaiser San Jose. Today we're out here on behalf of California Nurses Association, and we're supporting the writers on their trek to get a fair contract.
And why is that important to nurses?
Anytime that a union is having a hard time with greedy corporations, we want to lend our support to help in any way we can. It's no secret that the studios are making billions while the writers are struggling to, make a living wage. So we need to change that, because they're the stories that we all love and hear.
Now, one of the issues is AI. Is that a concern to the nurses union as far as the introduction of AI into hospitals?
It is a concern. New technology is always a concern. So as hospitals push for remote visits,
Get rid of nurses?
That dilutes patient care. So we believe that the best care is with nurses at the bedside, and we will fight any attempt to dilute patient care in that way.
And your union has called for national health care, single payer. Workers, these riders who go on strike are probably going to lose their health care. Is that another reason we should have national health care?
That's exactly the reason we should have single payer health care, because health care is a human right. It's not something that should be bought or sold. It's something that we all deserve.
You're out here leafleting.
Hi, I'm Joel McElvaney. I'm a pre-WGA writer.
And what is a pre-WGA rider?
I'm not part of the guild yet, but I'm hoping to be one someday, and I'm writing and trying to get into trying to get a script sold or get into a writer's room, that kind of thing.
And they say that there may not be a future for writers if this AI comes. Do you agree with that?
I totally disagree with that. I think we're always going to need writers. They bring not just a level of experience, but also the ability to think differently and to write something that engages and doesn't just regurgitate.
And this company makes billions of dollars. Apparently, the contract demand would be $17 million. What's the problem?
I don't know. 17 million out of a $400 billion pot seems like a very small amount to put forth for a pretty darn good cause.
Think it's greed, or what is it about?
It's got to be greed. It's got to be, shareholders want their money, and that's what's kind of driving some of the decision making, and that's sad.
So what can people do about that?
Let their voices be heard. Let Apple know, and the other production companies. Let the studios know that you're in support of the writers and their very reasonable demands, reasonable requests for just pay that will provide them a living wage. And
that's a radical thing.
Yeah, right. Yes, it is.
A living wage.
Well, writers have the pay for writers has been going down, and in the last 10 years, and especially with the streamers and everything, it's a problem.
Steve Beck.
And what's going on here today? Why are you out here today?
We're out here in support of the writers.
And one of your speakers from the Teamsters said that the issue of automation, AI, is a concern to you. Is that true?
Absolutely, it's a concern to us. We have drivers that have made careers out of driving trucks and driving packages from one place to another, making sure that we keep the public safe. And now you have these large corporations talking about bringing in automation. Now, are we against improving? No. But are we against bringing something that we can't trust at this point in time? 100%. And until it's vetted and until we get what we actually need into language, and we can safely know that these things are going to help protect our members, help protect our families, help protect working people, then we're absolutely against it.
Well, it seems like they're moving ahead with robotic trucks. They have cars in San Francisco, no drivers. It's being introduced. What is the labor movement doing about it?
We've been trying to put in bills, working with our politicians, working with our city councilmen and councilwomen to make sure that if they're doing these things, they're doing them right and they're vetting them. That's the most important thing here, making sure that it's safe for people to be on the road with this automation. We don't have enough data. These companies spend millions and millions of dollars talking about how they've invested in data and how they've invested in making sure it was safe. Provide the data.
Well, Tesla says they're getting the data, but there have been a lot of auto accidents. Tesla's running into fire trucks.
Well, didn't they just recall thousands and thousands of cars based off of automation? Right? So autopilot
seems to be continuing to operate. I mean, they're allowing these cars to operate despite the fact that they could be dangerous, kill drivers, passengers, and pedestrians.
Yeah, and that's why we're against it. Until we can properly make sure that our families, let's get down to brass taxes. Do you feel safe with your family driving on the street? Because I sure don't. Millions of people don't. But we're so worried about the bottom line and making the extra dollar that we forget how we made that dollar to begin with. It's on the back of hardworking men and women. And we're progressive. We've fought for all these new things. We're fighting for AI, but it has to be done correctly. It can't just be shoved down our throats simply because you want to make a dollar.
Now, AI is coming in UPS, the trucks, Amazon tracking people, even their face expressions. It seems like the introduction of this technology is really without any kind of regulation.
That's the problem. We need these politicians to step up. We put them in place to help protect us, right? Where's the protection? Because you have people coming in there giving them blank checks to tell them, no, these are good things. Well, we're telling them it's not good. Listen,
specifically, why don't you give some specific examples?
I'll tell you. So you have inward-facing cameras that are being used, right? It's good if it detects you sleeping or if it detects you, not paying attention to the road. But why do you need that camera on one of our members driving these trucks that aren't doing anything? They're being used to discipline these drivers for what reason? To create data to say, well, the driver's not safe. If we get an automated driver in there, well, now we know that the car is moving the way we want it to move, and it's not making the additional stop. And it's not looking out for anybody. It's just simply getting from point A to point B. That's really the facts. The facts is they're trying to use this facial recognition and stuff to discipline members. That's what it comes down to.
Stressful for your members?
Absolutely stressful. Absolutely. Our members talk about this every single time we have proposals, every time we have membership meetings, every time we have meetings with any of it. It's not just in drivers, by the way. It's at working warehouses where there's cameras everywhere. Cameras in the break room, cameras in the bathroom, cameras in your locker. You open your locker to put your boots in, there's a camera in there making sure your boots are put in correctly. It's a problem. It's an absolute problem. It's just constant surveillance. For what reason? What is the reason that they're surveilling us? What is the reason that they're trying to find out what you're doing at all times of the day? Why? And I gotta be honest, I don't know enough about this AI, but I know that what they're doing right now with all this surveillance leads me to believe they're surveilling us to make sure that they can get what they want with AI. Well, these guys aren't driving the way they're supposed to. These guys aren't doing what they're supposed to. But if we had a robot, it would do exactly what we tell it to do. That's really what it comes down to.
So if they can really bring in AI to drive trucks, to get rid of drivers, what does that mean for the future of labor? I mean, Goldman Sachs has said that 300 million workers may lose their job around the world. I mean, it sounds like a dire situation.
It is a dire situation. This country was built on the back of labor, right? We know that. History tells us that, and we're getting away from our history. We're getting away from what are us as people. As a group, a community, not just union, just us as human beings, work together, live together. You walk down the street, you can't get people to even look you in the eye to say hi anymore, right? Because they're too busy looking at their phone or too busy trying not to talk to you. Why? We ourselves are pushing away from that. We ourselves are trying to get away from communicating. It's easier for you to text somebody something than it is to talk face to face to them. What are we becoming? We ourselves are becoming that robot that we're fighting against. I will tell you that I stand against all of that. I want to meet people. I want to know people. I want to help build something with my hands. I want to be a part of that future. I don't want to be a part of a future where I don't even know who my children are because they don't know how to talk to me. That's why.
Another issue is Amazon. They're picketing in Palmdale, California. Apparently, a contractor signed an agreement with the Teamsters, and now they're retaliating against union members. I mean, it seems like Amazon is intent on keeping any union out, but the Teamsters as well.
Absolutely, 100%. We have, if you go on to a lot of our Teamster websites, you'll see that we're asking for donations from anybody, from rank and file members, from all locals, from all unions, anybody who can help. Amazon's fight is not with just Southern California. It's not just with those members working in Southern California. It's against all people, period. It's easier for Amazon to say that you don't work for me. You're a third party. You do this because if you crash, you're subcontracted. If you crash, I don't have to worry about you. And that's what they're trying to do to their own employees. They're less than. And our fight is not with one facility. Our fight is with Amazon from north to south, east to west. Because if you can treat people as less than, think about what they would treat, and the people that work for them, they treat less than. Think about what they think about us. As long as you get that box with that smile on it, I tell everybody that does that, I tell them, turn that box upside down. That's a frown of the person working inside that Amazon facility, because that's how they feel when they leave. Don't let them fool you. They're talking about helping with medical and helping with retirement. Why? Why are they starting to broach those subjects now? Is because Teamsters, because of UFCW, because of SEIU, because everybody has come together in the labor movement to tell them what they're doing is wrong. They wouldn't listen before. They're going to have to listen now because they're going to have to negotiate that contract.
And your contract expires July 31st?
I don't know about the contract for Amazon.
Oh, at UPS. There's no contract for Amazon.
Yes.
So are you ready? And I mean, they call for unity here at the Rally of all labor. I mean, do you think there is going to be a united labor movement?
I believe there should be. I have faith. I'm one of the hopefuls. I don't believe in the politics of a thing. I believe in us as a community, as a labor movement coming together no matter what. And that's why I'm here today, to support them the same way that they would support us. That's what unions are, right? We take it from the word unity. So how can you be in a union but not be unified against the real fight, the fight against labor? Our fight is against labor. It will always be against that. We fight for our members in labor. We have to fight to make sure that they get what they deserve. These corporations are 100% hell-bent on keeping that 500% gap, right? Our job is to try to get a piece of that pie. That's it. And you can't have this huge campus and all of this beautiful stuff around you without the backs of labor. It's on their backs that you built this campus, right? It's on their backs that you have all this. They're asking for a small piece of that huge pie that you get to eat every day.
17 billion out of the billions that they make?
Right. Isn't that weird that that's how we speak now? Before it used to be hundreds of thousands. Now it's millions upon billions. And it's still the same fight. It's the same fight we fought 50 years ago.
My name is Olivia Navarro, with the Labor's Local 270.
And you're out here today at Apple.
Yes, today we're here at Apple supporting the Writers Guild, supporting the writers, making sure that we protect their jobs.
And are you concerned about the issues that they're raising, the writers, as far as automation, AI?
Absolutely. We want to make sure that we protect all our writers' jobs. Obviously, automation is currently with the new systems that they have that can create new platforms so that they can create new shows, I guess. But unfortunately, we need to support the writers to make sure that their creative writing skills are actually being utilized, and we are all here in unison with our other brothers and sisters in labor, making sure that we support them. We want to make sure that automation doesn't take over the humanity of our jobs.
And I understand they're making bulldozers automatic, putting AI in bulldozers and getting rid of construction operators. Are you concerned about the future of your members as far as labor?
Absolutely. I mean, right now, there's a lot of different AI that's going into construction. For example, I know that they're using AI for driving trucks. Long-distance truck drivers could potentially lose their jobs. It's a scary thing when you have these big trucks driving across country, fully loaded, and you don't know if there could be a glitch in the system, and people can potentially, their lives can be at risk, not just the people that are in the vehicles, but the people that are surrounding them. You don't know what they're carrying, and the hazard and the exposure that can happen with that is it can be terrifying, and it's not just the jobs, but also, like I said, the hazards, the potential risk factors that can be there.
And we're here at the Apple campus here, very nice campus. A lot of your members and workers, for that matter, can't afford to live in Santa Clara County. Is that an issue for unions here?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is the sad reality in Santa Clara County, Silicon Valley, right? We have a lot of workers that live and would like to continue living in San Jose. They grew up here and they work here, but then they have to drive sometimes 2-3 hours, or sometimes
In Central Valley.
or sometimes, stay with a friend in a couch and couch surf from day to day, so that they can stay here 2-3 days and then go back to Fresno or to Modesto and other parts of California, because the jobs are in Silicon Valley and it's just too expensive to live in Santa Clara County. We need more affordable homes. We need to be able to provide jobs that pay sustainable wages to our employees, and that we have benefits afforded to the employees as well, because sometimes we have working poor, unfortunately, and we have a lot of people that are working and they're one paycheck away from getting sick and then losing everything, even their home that they actually do have. So we have to be able to create a economy where the workers here are able to work for great companies, possibly like Apple, and be able to give back to the community that they are living at. And they're building great campuses like this, but they have to be able to give back to the workers as well. So it's a cycle of life.
Is there a social crisis in California? I know there are a lot of homeless people, can't find a place to live. I mean, tents. I mean, in San Francisco, that's where I'm from. I mean, it seems like there are a lot of people who are just being pushed out of their homes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are being pushed out of their homes. There's a lot of working, houseless individuals. It's a shift that's been happening for a long time, and people don't choose to not have a roof over their heads. They don't wake up one day and say, hey, I don't want to live in a house, right? It's not a choice, but if their work is at a particular location and there is no other jobs anywhere else, they're going to be staying close to where their work is. And they're stuck in a vicious cycle. And until we break that cycle and figure out a way where we can make it work for everybody, not just the big corporations, but for the workers as well. AI might work for the big corporations so they can make a big profit. But in this type of situation, workers are going to feel the brunt of it. The writers are not going to be able to provide for themselves, and possibly they might end up losing their homes. And then they can potentially be the next people that are unfortunately houseless. And they're qualified individuals that have degrees that, they can obviously write, and are professionals that went to school to be writers, and unfortunately are not going to be able to produce and be part of the economy and give back because AI took over their job.
My name is Chris Ford.
And how long have you been on strike?
We've been on strike for a month and a couple days now. Yeah.
You're in front of Apple, and
yes, we're here in front of Apple, and we're just here to defend the profession of screenwriting and television writing.
And what kind of writing do you do?
I'm a screenwriter, and I've just started my first TV project now.
And this issue of streaming, apparently they're not providing information about how many streaming they're doing. I mean, is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I mean, more on the tech company side, the Netflix side, they don't want to release the information because to them information is value, and we can understand that, but we can negotiate about it. Let's sit down at the bargaining table and come up with a solution instead of just not talking about it.
And there's an issue of gig work and writers being turned into gig workers. What does that mean to you?
So making writing into a gig instead of a career means that only people who have other financial support could even be writers. That's going to limit it to certain types of people, certain classes of people, and it's going to make movies and TV worse. We've been trying to be more inclusive, get all different kinds of stories. That will end.
You mean the diversity that you're talking about?
Yeah, diversity of perspective and in any way. I think there's a lot of, we're trying to avoid some of the problems that other people who are in the film business have, like producers have a really hard time becoming producers, and only certain kinds of people can even become producers. And we want to have the protection so that anyone can become a screenwriter if they're passionate about writing and talented.
And AI, what do you think about it?
I think AI is a fantastic tool. We want to use it as a tool. We don't want it to replace people. We want it to augment them. and make us all better at what we do. Just because Photoshop exists, should we get rid of photographers? It's just a tool.
Well, they're scraping, apparently, portfolios, putting it into big databases, and then using it for AI without paying the photographers, without paying the artists. You think that's an issue?
Yeah, that's a huge issue. That's like a giant legal framework for how this new technology will be used, and it's beyond what we're even talking about. AI has all kinds of problems that I think eventually could get sorted out, but that's a problem with new technologies. It moves so fast, and we just need to not throw out what works when we're trying to just chase new ways to do things.
Well, in this country, technology is pretty much introduced at will. Companies just introduce it. It's like the Wild Wild West. I mean, scanners were introduced. They injured a lot of workers. Without any kind of research on the effect of the introduction of technology. Goldman Sachs has said 300 million workers may lose their job as a result of AI. You think it's a social issue and a system issue?
Yeah, it is a social issue, and obviously, an individual company is going to do what it needs to do to make the most money. So where's the pushback against what would actually be best for society?
Are you the pushback?
We're one of the pushbacks. I think that's why this strike this time has a lot of solidarity, I think, behind it, because we all see that we're all in the same boat, and we happen to be screenwriters, but I think people can see that it's a similar problem we're all going to be facing.